Welcome students to this session. I am Professor Naval Kishore from School of Management Studies, Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. You have already understood about public enterprises, particularly departmental organization, its suitability, features, merits, limitations, etc. etc. Today, I am going to discuss about another form of public enterprises, that is public corporation. Public corporation is a corporate body and it is created by the parliament or a state legislature by a special act, and this act defines the powers, duties, functions, immunities and the pattern of management of public corporation. Public corporation is also known as statutory corporation. The capital is subscribed by the government. The corporation is managed by the management committee, which is constituted according to the provisions of the act. And public corporation is answerable to parliament or legislature as the case may be. So here one thing is very important, that the corporation is created by parliament or a state legislature. And in the act, the powers, duties, functions, immunities and the pattern of management are carried out. As it is said by several authors, that public corporation is an organization which is clothed with the power of the government but is possessed of the flexibility of private enterprise. So it is very much clear that on the one hand, it has the act which is being created by the government, therefore it enjoys or it works as per that act. On the second hand, it has some sort of the flexibility as good as private enterprises. So some sort of the features of the flexibility is there in the public corporation as well as the government act is there. The public corporations are constituted for the following purposes. For example, to transfer the business of a nationalized undertaking to the corporation. If there are some national undertakings and if government wants, the government can nationalize those undertakings in the corporation form. Next, to facilitate the acquisition of undertakings belonging to an existing company. If there is existing company, it may go for the acquisition of those undertakings as well. To promote, develop and operate certain schemes. For example, you want to have some sort of, let's say that you want to create a dam. Now, in order to create a dam, it requires a huge investment and it has served the purpose of several irrigation, etc., of that area also. So, for this purpose, public corporations may be set up. Next is to extend certain social services and utility services. If the government wants to set up some social services or which are required for the public, or the public wants that, or the government thinks that that is very much suitable for the common people, for the masses. In that case, in order to fulfill that social services obligation of the government may set up public corporation. Next, to provide for regulation and control of the working and operations of an institution or for other matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. That means if the governments want to regulate something, if government want to control some sort of the working operations of an institution, in that case also government may acquire that or government may set up public corporations so that the government may regulate and control that institution. Now let us understand the features of public corporation. Before going to the features, you must understand that the first public corporation was the Damodar Valley Corporation, which was established under the Act of Parliament in 1948. And it is a multi-purpose river project. In the same year, Industrial Finance Corporation of India was established to provide finance for industries in the private sector. Government wanted that the private sector should be provided the financial facilities, and for that purpose government set up Industrial Finance Corporation of India by the Act of Parliament. Now if you analyze the features of the public corporation, you will find that the features are, the first is created by a special act of legislature. As I said in the beginning itself, that public corporation is an autonomous corporate body and which is created by a special act of a legislature, as the case may be. It may be in the parliament if it is central government, or it may be under the state government also. And the act which has been created for this purpose, the act defines the powers, duties, privileges, immunities, relationship to the government department, etc., etc. Therefore, it is created by a special act. Next is, it is a corporate body. When it is a corporate body, like a joint stock company is a legal entity, the public corporation also, it has or it is artificial person. The corporation is an artificial person. That means it exists in the eyes of law. That means you can sue the corporation or the corporation can sue you. The corporation can enter into a contracts for the transaction of business, or you may also enter into the contract with the corporation. That means this is a legal body. It has a legal entity and it operates through its agents, and that is board of directors. Next, owned by the state. The public corporation is fully owned by the state and the capital which is fully subscribed by the state, that is by the government. Next is managed by a board of directors. As you all know that the public corporation has a board of directors and most of the important work is being directed or executed by the board of directors. Board represents various interests and are appointed by the concerned public authority. So the public authority appoint the board, and the board of the directors, they go for the, or they do all those major decision making areas, major decision making work of that corporation. Next is answerable to legislature. As you all know that it is created by an act. An act is passed in the parliament or state legislature. Therefore, the public corporation is answerable to parliament or state assembly which creates the public corporation. The way of the corporation would be held accountable, that has been mentioned in the act itself, that what are the conditions when the public corporation would be held accountable. the matter of that public corporation may be discussed in the parliament. For example, if there is a issue of the performance of the public sector, that is public corporation. For example, if the public corporation is running at loss, now the question may be raised in the parliament that why the public corporation has been running at loss. Sometimes there may be mismanagement, and whenever there is a mismanagement, the parliament or a state legislature, they may ask questions or direction may be given to the public corporation to explain that particular mismanagement. Next is relation with the government. As you all know that public corporation is a statutory corporation and which is owned by the government. But it is not the directly government organization. The legal relationship and channels of communication between the government and corporation are laid down in the Act. That means whatever the detailed operational or functioning style is there in the Act, based on that the corporation acts. For example, Life Insurance Corporation, which is a statutory corporation, would be guided by on the matters of policy involving public interest and as per the directions issued in writing by the central government. For example, sometimes government, let's say the example of the Air India, Indian Airlines, now government wants to run a flight in the backward areas or in the remote areas, which might not be profitable for the public corporation. But indirectly or directly, government may direct that for the welfare of the people, you need to just fly in this area also. Next is own staffing system. As you all know that the employees are not government servants in the public sector. The employees are recruited, remunerated and governed by the rules and regulations of the public corporation. That means public corporation has its own rules and regulation related to the recruitment, promotion, etc., etc. The corporation can have freedom in regard to its employees for the running business because it is the corporations which has to execute that policy and make a sort of commercial decisions also, so that the corporation can do both the things. It may also earn the profit along with the services being suggested in the Act. The government closely regulates the terms and conditions of the public corporation. So whatever the terms and conditions are to fulfill that objectives, government regulates that also. Next is financial independence. There is a financial independence in respect of finance to the public corporation because a public corporation is not subject to the budget, accounting and audit controls as was in the case of the government companies. It was directly under the control. The corporation shall have its own funds and all receipts of the corporation shall be credited thereto and payments shall be made therefore. So that means it has its own way of functioning of financial operation based on the Act and policies of the public corporations. Because once the funds are given to a corporation, the corporation manages that funds according to its own way of operation functioning. A corporation can also borrow money within and outside the country after getting approval from the government. That means if there is a need of the finance, obviously in that case the corporation may get the approval of the government and they may mobilize the resources within the country as well as outside the country also. After studying the features, let us now come to the merits of the public corporations. The first is initiative and flexibility. As you all know that public corporation is an autonomous corporate body which has been created by the act of legislation. That means its affairs are independent. The corporation can take its own initiative and there is a flexibility in the operational style of the corporation. Therefore, the corporation may experiment new ideas, it may exercise initiatives, and it may enjoy the operational flexibility also whenever need arises as per terms and conditions of public corporation. Next is avoids red tapeism. Obviously, there is a wheel of red tapeism in the departmental organization or direct government organization. And you all know that the business requires just quick decision. So in that case, there may be, if there is a red tapeism, there would be a problem. So in the public corporation, that problem is avoided. Business functions cannot be carried out efficiently in completely red tapeism scenario, and which is completely focuses on rules, regulation and procedures, and it won't budge from that rules, regulation and procedure. But when you interpret them in terms of the commercial perspectives, you need some sort of the flexibility also. Therefore, compared with the departmental organization, public corporation can take quick decision and prompt action as per requirement of the public corporation. Next is easy to raise capital. Obviously, government-owned statutory bodies, because public corporation is government-owned statutory bodies, they can easily raise capital on their own, and whenever needed, they may also float bonds at relatively lower rate of interest. Public also may have confidence and they may just invest their money in the public corporation. Next is protects public interest. As you all may be aware that public corporation is relatively free from political interference. Parliamentary inquiry and departmental checks and controls, etc., may be as per the act only, and the whole functioning also guided by the act of public corporation. Therefore, there is a considerable degree of administrative autonomy in the public corporation. It ensures protection of public interest because board of directors of public corporations consist of persons from different groups like from the labor, from the consumers, from the professional bodies, and those board of directors are being nominated by the government because they are from the various sections, because they are from the part of the various stakeholders. Therefore, they may be able to protect the overall interest of the public. Next is works with service motive. Public corporation avoids the defects of profiteering, exploitation, illegitimate speculation, etc., etc. A corporation works primarily with service motive and profit earning is secondary consideration. So the primary consideration is to serve the people for which the public corporation has been set up. Moreover, the surplus of the public sector may be again provided for the public welfare or other activities, and that surplus should not be the result of the exploitation. So surplus may be used for good of the consumers and the community at large. Next is secures working efficiency. It secures greater working efficiency by providing better amenities and more attractive terms of service to its employees, and as a result the problems and issues related to employees may be reduced. Therefore, it secures working efficiency also. Next is secures benefit of large scale economies. See, obviously when the public corporation is set up, it is set up at the large scale. When it is set up at the large scale, obviously by virtue of being large, it operates on the very, very large scale. Therefore, there is a scope for easy, considerable attainment of economies in management by integrating several operations, and it may attain the economies of scale. For example, joint government undertakings organized as autonomous units such as banking, insurance, transport, etc., and as a result of being a joint, they may also secure better management and staff also with comparatively less cost. Now let us discuss about the limitations of public corporations. The limitations of the public corporations are, first is less autonomy. As you all know that the public corporation enjoy more autonomy. But in practice, the autonomy of public corporation is closely controlled by the government also. Because sometimes what happens, the government also regulates. For example, the Food Corporation of India and the electricity boards in various states are of importance to the government and to the public at large. Therefore, central and state governments often may find difficult to allow them freedom because it serves for the people also. When it serves for the people also, government would like to regulate them. They would not like that public sector should exploit for the purpose of, for the sake of earning profit. So government may regulate it. So the autonomy would be curtailed also. Next is inflexibility. As you are aware that public corporation is set up by a special act of legislature, and any change in the objectives and power of corporations, obviously that requires that the act must be amended by the legislature which has created that public corporation. So this may tend to make a corporation inflexible and insensitive to changing situation because the day-to-day operation may demand a change. Now obviously in case of public corporation, that change may not be possible because the change requires to be amended, and that amendment may be done by parliament or state legislature as the case may be. Therefore, there is an inflexibility situations also in the public corporation. Next is clash amongst divergent interest. As you are aware that public corporations are owned by the government and they are managed by the board of directors. The board of directors are appointed by the government, and board of directors also represent different interest group. So therefore, the interest of one group may clash with the other group, and that may hamper the smooth functioning of the corporation. Next is ignores commercial principles. Obviously, they do not have to face any competition because it is a very large in Therefore, neither it is guided by profit motive nor haunted by the fear of loss. As a result, there may be possibility of ignoring commercial principles while working or while performing day-to-day operations. As a result, it may also lead to inefficiency or losses to the corporation, and the losses that arises are met by the government through subsidies, and that is also problem with the government. Next is excessive public accountability. It works with service motive rather than profit motive. Therefore, this public accountability of corporation sometimes may become stumbling blocks in the attainment of the efficiency of the public corporations. So these were the limitations of the public corporations. So in this unit, you have learnt about the public corporation, suitability of the public corporations, merits of the public corporations, features of the public corporations, and limitations of the public corporations. Thank you.